Greetings, YouTube. At the moment, I don't even have to wear a sweatshirt. It's kind of stunning. Looks like spring has actually sprung in New England. Colorado has a new potential law in the works. At the moment, House Bill 15-1265 is a bill that would allow transgender Coloradoans to seek a new birth certificate that would have their new gender on it. Now, I believe that this is just going to let them have the options of male or female, which is their sex, not their gender, but we'll ignore that part. And it doesn't have an option of nothing or no gender. But at least it's a step in the right direction. At least it's willing to admit that there are people in the world that end up in a different place than how their gender and sex was assigned to them at birth. And this brings them more in line with who they are today, which is awesome. And it could also be done for a minor by a parent or guardian if they want to, if this bill becomes law. And that the article is claiming they actually have bipartisan support for this. So I'd be really surprised about that, because Colorado has a really strong socially conservative streak. A number of national organizations like Focus on the Family have like headquarters in Colorado. I don't know what it is about Colorado, why but there's a number of them which are based like in Colorado, and I don't know why. So remember, whenever an organization has like family in its name, that usually means that they're anti-family. Their definition of family usually is very, very narrow. Now, one of the things I've heard about this that people are upset about concerning this type of law, this in particular, but this law, this concept in general of getting a new birth certificate, is that it is a violation of the reality that your genes determine your sex, and that can't ever change. Well, your genes can't change at this point in time. Your genes are not binary. There is pretty much nothing binary when it comes to humans. And what this will allow is that there's not going to be the discrepancy between what a person, say, can have on their licenses, because getting your driver's license amended is easier in some places than having your birth certificate done. So there's not that well, your license says one thing and your birth certificate another, so which is it? Because that's going to cause a lot of controversy. If someone wants to start a new job, and they go to the job and they present as a woman, and they are living as a woman, and they identify as a woman, and their birth certificate says they were born male, that's going to cause problems. It's going to cause major problems if, say, if you're going for a security clearance. And then suddenly there's going to be all kinds of buzz about this person. Who is this person? Why are they passing? Why are they dressing as a woman when they were born male? When in actuality, they're a woman. And better question, as I've covered recently, is why are you gender policing how a person appears? It's none of your business. Now, a birth certificate is, in fact, a document of fact. It is a piece of important information. But the things it has to document are different than I think what some people think it has to document. It needs to document time and date. It needs to document who delivered you and what facility it was, things like that. The location, as far as your longitude and your latitude, where were you born, things like that. It needs to list your parents and their social security numbers. Whatever your parents are, your parents don't have to be one man, one woman. They could be two men, two women. It doesn't matter. All these things are very important for future information. But the one thing it doesn't have to be on that birth certificate is your gender or sex. It's immaterial. All the birth certificate is declaring is you were born here and at a certain time to certain parents. Any other piece of information like that is not necessary. Now, it's always been included up until now, but so what? It's time to change. Shocking, I know, it's time to change. So, I'm glad that this particular bill has moved forward as far as it has. I'd like to see it become law. I'd like to see it become a national trend. But I would like it better if our birth certificates just didn't have sex or gender on them, because it's not important. Who you are as a human being is not determined by your sex and gender. My sex and gender is not the most interesting thing about me, nor is my sexual orientation or my presentation. None of these things are the most interesting things about me. Who I am in my heart, in my mind, those are the most interesting things about me. And those things are not on a document, birth certificate or otherwise. So I'm glad that this is being done. I hope it passes, and I hope again that it sweeps the nation, though I think it's going to have a lot of problems in certain segments of our proud nation. There are places that are still fighting same-sex equality as far as marriage is concerned, and they're going to tooth and nail right up to the end. India and Arkansas are two examples of places that are trying to have a backlash against the LGBTQ community because of the changes that are taking place in the world. They want to codify discrimination, and it's getting resistance, and it's working. So let's hope it continues. So, what do you think needs to be on your birth certificate? Do you think sex and gender are required? If you do, why do you think they're required? What do they add? What important piece of information is that about you as an individual that has to be on that document?